All right, so data engineering.
Mm.
I know you're out to junior programmers, and you're thinking about this as a career path.
Hmm.
Smart move. I mean, this field is exploding right now.
Yeah, definitely.
But before you jump in head first,
Mm.
let's unpack what data engineering actually is and why it matters,
Right.
so much.
I think what's fascinating about data engineering is that it's kind of like the unsung hero of the tech world.
Yeah.
All those cool data-driven apps, the AI everyone's talking about, it all relies on data engineering.
Mm.
Think of it like this. You're a programmer, right? You write this elegant code. It works perfectly
Yeah.
on your machine.
Oh, yeah.
Exactly.
Works on my machine. What else matters, right?
What happens when 1 million users hit your app?
Uh-oh.
Suddenly, it's not just about clean code.
Mm.
It's about handling mountains of data, making sure it's reliable, and getting insights from it.
Okay.
That's data engineering.
Got it.
It's the bridge between raw data and actually making it useful.
Yeah.
Jyoti Yadav, in their book Fundamentals of Data Engineering, calls it turning raw data into something truly valuable.
So it's like level 2 of programming,
Right.
my code, but on steroids.
That's a good way to put it.
Okay.
And there's a reason why it's so important to remember that free Codecamp video data engineering course for beginners,
Yeah, I think so.
they mentioned that a crazy 85 to 87% of big data projects fail.
That's a lot. 85 to 87%.
Yeah, a lot of facepalms.
I thought I was bad at debugging.
The culprit, poor data infrastructure.
Okay.
And that's what data engineers build.
Got it.
They're the architects making sure the data is flowing smoothly, securely, and ready for analysis.
So data engineers are important.
Very important.
Okay, cool.
Without them, data scientists can't do their magic.
Oh, so they work together.
They do.
Okay, cool. So basically, if I want to level up my programming skills and be the one making things actually work in the real world, data engineering is the way to go.
You're catching on quick.
Awesome.
We'll be diving deep into all the essential concepts, tools, and even address the data engineer versus data scientist question.
Now that's a good one.
I know it trips a lot of people up.
Yeah, it does.
Are you ready to start with the basics?
Hit me with it.
Yeah.
Data engineering 101.
Let's go.
Picture this data has a life cycle, just like that energy drink you're probably sipping on. Yadav breaks it down into 5 stages.
Okay.
First, data is born, generated from websites, apps, sensors, everything.
Makes sense.
Then it needs a place to live temporarily.
Okay.
That's storage.
But where does it go?
Good question.
My code usually just lives on my laptop.
Not this time. We're talking about massive amounts of data. That's where data warehouses and data lakes come in.
Okay.
That Katie Nuggets article had some good descriptions of
Oh,
this.
well, hold up. Warehouses and lakes. Now we're getting metaphorical.
Yeah.
Okay.
Think of a data warehouse as a super organized library for your data.
Everything's labeled, categorized perfect for when you need to run reports and analyze things in a structured way. Yeah.
So if I'm building a dashboard for, say, tracking website traffic, that data would live in the warehouse.
Exactly. It's optimized for those kinds of tasks.
Got it.
Now, a data lake is more like, imagine dumping all your code notes, random files, even memes,
Oh my God.
into one giant folder.
My desktop.
Haha. Kinda.
Someone finally gets me.
A data lake is for all kinds of data,
Okay.
structured or not.
Okay.
It's messy, but there's potential gold in there if you know how to sift through it.
So warehouse for order lake for exploration.
You got it.
Cool.
After storage comes ingestion?
Ingestion.
Yes.
Yeah, it's not as simple as just dragging and dropping, though.
Oh, no.
Data comes from everywhere in different formats.
Uh-huh.
Data engineers build pipelines to handle this.
Pipelines, like those things they use to transport oil.
Kind of.
Imagine a system of pipes that can take data from different sources, clean it up, and make sure it's flowing smoothly to the warehouse or lake. That's the ingestion process.
So even if my data is messy, like that giant folder on my desktop, a good data engineer can make it usable.
Exactly.
Oh, wow.
That's where the magic of ETL and ELT comes in.
What's that?
Extract, transform, load, or extract, load, transform.
Oh, isn't that the same thing, just rearranged?
It's more than that.
Okay.
It depends on what you're doing with the data.
Oh,
ETL is like preparing all your ingredients before cooking, clean chopped, ready to go.
Okay, I can see that.
ELT is more like throwing everything in the pot and figuring it out as you cook.
I'm more of an ELT cook myself.
Yeah.
But which one's better for data?
It depends on the project.
Okay.
We'll dive into that more in part 2, but for now, just know that these processes are key to making data usable.
Data's stored, it's cleaned up.
Right.
What happens next?
Transformation. This is where data engineers really flex their coding muscles.
Okay.
They use programming languages like Python and SQL to clean, validate, and transform the data into something data scientists can work with.
So this is where my Python skills would come in handy.
You bet. Python is super popular in data engineering.
Cool.
We'll talk more about the must-have skills later, but after transformation, we reach the final stage, serving...
I'm like serving up a delicious data meal.
You could say that.
Okay.
This is where the transformed data is delivered to data scientists, analysts, or other systems. They use it to build dashboards, run reports, train AI models, all sorts of cool stuff.
Wow. So data engineers are like the chefs who prep all the ingredients.
Okay.
And then data scientists are the ones who create the fancy dishes.
That's a great analogy.
Cool.
Data engineers lay the groundwork for all those data-driven insights.
Okay, I'm starting to get the big picture here, but there's still a lot to unpack.
There definitely is. We've only just scratched the surface of the data life cycle.
Okay, I'm ready to keep digging.
Awesome. Welcome back. Last time we left off talking about ETL and ELT.
Yes.
How data engineers get that raw data prepped and ready for analysis. You were comparing it to cooking, if I recall.
Yeah, I'm always hungry, what can I say? But those acronyms still feel a bit abstract to me. When would I actually use ETL versus ELT in the real world?
Let's say you're working on a project where you need to generate very specific reports.
Okay.
Maybe you're analyzing sales data for a retail company. That data needs to be structured and consistent.
So like each sale needs to have the same information, product price,
Yeah.
customer ID, that sort of thing.
Exactly. ETL is perfect for that.
Okay.
You extract the raw data from all your different sources, like online orders, in-store purchases, maybe even customer surveys.
Okay.
Then you transform it, clean it up, make sure the formats match, maybe add some calculated fields.
Like if you need to calculate total revenue from different product categories, you do that during the transformation stage.
You got it. It's all about making the data ready for analysis, and then finally you load it into your data warehouse, all nice and tidy.
Okay, that makes sense for structured data. But what about that data lake we talked about?
Right.
The one where everything's kind of a mess.
That's where ELT shines.
Okay.
Remember, data lakes are all about flexibility and exploration. You might not even know what questions you're going to ask of the data yet.
So it's less about predefined reports and more about discovery, like finding hidden patterns or trends.
Precisely.
Oh, cool.
With ELT, you extract the raw data, load it into the lake as is, and then worry about transforming it later once you have a better understanding of what you're looking for.
So if I'm building a system to analyze customer behavior on a website, I might use ELT.
Yeah.
Because the data is complex and I don't even know what I'm looking for yet.
That's a great example. ELT lets you handle a wider variety of data,
Okay.
including things like text from customer reviews or social media posts.
Oh, wow.
You can even use machine learning to help with the transformation later on.
So ETL is like prepping ingredients for a specific recipe,
Yeah.
while ELT is more like having a pantry full of ingredients and then deciding what to cook based on what you find.
Spot on. Both approaches have their place.
Okay.
And a skilled data engineer knows when to use each one. But remember, all this data movement requires careful planning and management.
Okay.
That's where data pipelines and orchestration come in.
All right, back to the pipelines. Last time we were comparing them to oil pipelines.
Yeah.
But how do they actually work in the world of data?
Think of a data pipeline as a series of steps that need to happen to get your data from point A to point B.
Okay.
You might extract data from a database, transform it using Python code, and then load it to a data warehouse.
So each step in the pipeline is like a function in my code doing a specific task.
You're getting it. But these pipelines can get really complex with multiple step dependencies and different schedules.
Schedules, like my data needs to punch in and out of work.
Not quite, but you might need to run certain pipelines daily, weekly, or even on demand. Maybe you need to update your sales data every night or pull in new social media data every hour.
Okay, I'm starting to see how this could get messy fast.
Yeah.
How do data engineers keep track of all this?
That's where orchestration tools come in.
Orchestration tools?
Yes.
Okay.
These are like the conductors of an orchestra, making sure all the different instruments are playing together in harmony.
So instead of me manually running each step in the pipeline, an orchestration tool does it automatically.
Exactly. One popular tool is Apache Airflow.
Apache Airflow.
It lets you define your pipelines as code,
Oh, wow.
specifying each step, its dependencies, and when it needs to run.
So if I mess up a step, the whole pipeline crashes.
It could,
Oh,
But Airflow helps you handle those situations too.
okay.
You can set up alerts, retry failed tasks, and even visualize the entire pipeline to see what's going on.
Okay, this is starting to sound powerful, but what about the actual processing of all this data? We're talking about huge amounts of information here.
That's where tools like Apache Spark come in.
Apache Spark?
It's a distributed computing engine designed to handle massive data sets. Remember those data lakes? Spark is like a super-powered speedboat that can zoom across that lake, processing data at lightning speed.
So if I'm running complex calculations on, say, billions of customer records, Spark can handle that without breaking a sweat.
Exactly. It's also great for machine learning tasks
Wow.
and even real-time data streaming.
Wow, this is a lot to take in. Are there any other tools I should know about?
There's a whole ecosystem out there.
Oh my God.
We've only just scratched the surface.
Okay.
But the key takeaway is that data engineers have a powerful toolkit at their disposal to manage and process massive amounts of data.
My programmer brain is definitely feeling overloaded, but in a good way.
Good.
I'm starting to see how all these pieces fit together.
That's great to hear. We've covered a lot of ground in this part. In the final part, we'll explore how all these concepts are being used to solve real-world problems and what career paths you can consider as a budding data engineer.
I'm ready for part 3. Let's see how data engineering is changing the world. All right, final pull. We've talked about the data lifecycle, warehouses versus lakes, even pipelines and orchestration. My brain is full of tools and acronyms now. But let's talk about what data engineers actually DO in the real world. How is all this stuff making a difference?
That's the exciting part. Remember how we said data engineering is kind of behind the scenes? Well, it's quietly powering a lot of the innovation we see every day.
Yeah.
Healthcare, transportation, even space exploration.
Hold on, space.
Yeah.
I thought we were talking about databases, not launching rockets.
Think about it. Telescopes, satellites, rovers. They're collecting mountains of data images, sensor readings, you name it.
Okay.
Scientists need ways to process, analyze, and make sense of it all.
So data engineers are like the mission control for space data, making sure it's usable back here on Earth.
That's exactly.
Oh, wow, that's cool.
They build the pipelines, manage the storage, and make sure that data is accessible to researchers. They might even use machine learning to help identify patterns or anomalies.
Okay, that's pretty cool. But back down to Earth, what about that healthcare example?
Right.
I remember you saying data engineering could help doctors make better decisions.
It's already happening. Hospitals have tons of data patient records, medical images, lab results, but it's often siloed and difficult to access.
So like my code projects before I learned about version control, chaos everywhere.
Pretty much.
Oh.
Data engineers come in and create a unified system.
Okay.
They build pipelines to pull in data from different sources, clean it up, and make sure it's consistent.
And then what? Doctors can just search through all that data to find what they need.
It's more than just searching. Data engineers can help build dashboards that visualize key metrics like patient vitals or medication adherence.
Okay.
They can also build systems that alert doctors to potential issues.
So if a patient's blood pressure suddenly spikes, the system could flag it to the doctor in real time.
Exactly. And with machine learning, you can even start predicting things like readmissions or potential complications.
Wow, that's like next level healthcare. But what about those traffic jams I always get stuck in? Can data engineering fix those?
Funny you should ask. Cities are using data engineering to build smarter transportation systems.
Okay.
They collect data from traffic cameras, sensors, even GPS devices.
So it's not just about knowing where the traffic is, but also why it's happening, like accidents, construction, rush hour.
Right. With all that data, you can start to build models that predict traffic patterns and optimize traffic flow. Imagine a system that adjusts traffic light timing based on real-time conditions.
That would be a dream come true for my commute.
Right.
So basically, data engineering is like the secret sauce behind a lot of the cool stuff happening in the world.
You could say that.
That's awesome.
And as a junior programmer, you're in a great position to jump into this field. You already have the coding skills. It's just about learning how to apply them to data.
Okay, so let's say I'm sold on this data engineering thing.
Okay.
What kind of career paths should I be thinking about?
There are a few directions you could go.
Okay.
You could become a generalist data engineer, tackling a wide range of tasks, or you could specialize in something like pipeline development or database management.
So if I love building things, I might focus on pipelines. And if I'm more into organizing and optimizing, Maybe database management is my jam.
Exactly.
Yeah.
There's also a growing need for data engineers with machine learning expertise.
Oh, wow.
They help build the infrastructure that powers AI applications.
This is starting to sound like there are just as many options in data engineering as in regular programming.
Absolutely.
Hmm.
And with the amount of data being generated, the demand for skilled data engineers is only going to increase.
Okay, cool. So one last thing.
Yeah.
We keep mentioning data scientists.
Yeah.
What's the difference between them and data engineers?
Think of it this way. Data engineers build the race car, and data scientists are the drivers.
Okay.
Engineers make sure the car is fast, reliable, and has all the right parts.
Hmm.
Scientists focus on pushing the car to its limits and winning the race.
So engineers are all about building and maintaining the data infrastructure, and scientists are using that infrastructure to extract insights and make predictions.
You nailed it.
Awesome.
They work closely together, but they have different skill sets and focuses.
This has been a mind-blowing deep dive into the world of data engineering. I feel like I've gone from zero to, well, not hero, but at least I understand the basics.
It's been a pleasure sharing this journey with you. Remember, data engineering is a constantly evolving field. Keep learning, experimenting, and building, and you'll be well on your way to a rewarding career.
Thanks for tuning in to the deep dive. We hope you're feeling informed and inspired to explore the amazing world of data engineering. See you next time.